In the humid darkness of Southeast Asia, where banana trees sway gently under the moonlight, there exists a legend whispered for generations, a name that stirs fear, respect, and sorrow all at once. They call her the Pontianak. She is both the embodiment of beauty and the harbinger of horror, a spirit born of tragedy, fueled by vengeance, and kept alive through the collective memory of millions. Her story isn't written in one book, carved in stone, or confined to a single place. Instead, it lives in the hearts of those who have heard her cry, smelled her ghostly fragrance of frangipani flowers, or caught a fleeting glimpse of white at the edge of their vision. Across Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, and Brunei, her legend takes shape, sometimes called Kuntilanak, sometimes Pontianak, but always feared. The Pontianak is said to be the restless spirit of a woman who died during childbirth, or while pregnant, her life and motherhood cruelly cut short. What follows is not peace, but transformation. Grief and rage twist her spirit into something vengeful. Some say she walks this world seeking retribution against men, especially those who have wronged women. Others believe she attacks indiscriminately, her sorrow consuming all it touches. Those who claim to have seen her speak first of her beauty: long, flowing black hair, skin pale as the moon, and a white dress often stained with earth. But it is a deceptive beauty. Beneath lies her true form: eyes that burn red with fury, long sharp nails, and fangs meant to tear flesh. Some say she hides this face until the moment she strikes, revealing it only when her victim is close enough to feel her icy breath. In the deep of night, there are signs said to herald her presence: a sudden, overpowering scent of frangipani flowers, sweet, almost sickly in its intensity; the soft crying of a baby, drifting on the wind; dogs howling into the darkness, their hackles raised at something unseen; and if you hear scratching on your roof or window, the elders warn, don't look. Once you meet her gaze, escape becomes little more than a desperate hope. Folklore tells us the Pontianak dwells in banana trees, which stand tall in countless villages and city corners alike. Some families refuse to plant them near their homes. Cutting them after dark is thought to provoke her wrath, for it is in their hollow trunks that she rests, waiting, watching, and should someone disturb her slumber, she might decide to follow them home. Those who find themselves facing her have only the faintest sliver of hope. Legends speak of driving a nail into the hole at the back of her neck. It is said this tames her, transforming her back into the woman she once was: calm, docile, perhaps even human again. But remove the nail, and the curse awakens once more. The city of Pontianak in Indonesia itself takes its name from this ghost. The story goes that when the city's founders first arrived, they were tormented by the Pontianak spirit's strange sounds in the jungle, ghostly figures in the trees. To establish peace, shamans performed rituals to drive her away, and the city was named after her, as though to keep her memory alive and, perhaps, appeased. Beyond legend, countless modern encounters feed the fear. Taxi drivers tell of picking up a lone woman in white late at night, only for her to vanish from the back seat as they drive. Security guards patrolling construction sites report catching sight of her in CCTV footage, a figure in white drifting through shadows, ignoring locked doors and high fences. And travelers on quiet roads speak of a sudden floral scent that chills them to the bone, before they glimpse her standing by the roadside, eyes locked onto theirs, vanishing as quickly as she appeared. The fear of the Pontianak is so deeply woven into daily life that even now, in parts of Malaysia and Indonesia, whistling at night is discouraged. It is said to draw her attention. Mothers warn their children to come home before dark, not just to keep them safe from earthly dangers, but from the spirit world as well. In villages, banana trees go untouched after sunset, and when the wind carries the scent of frangipani, many choose to close their windows and quietly recite prayers, hoping to ward off her gaze. But who is the Pontianak really? Some scholars see her as a reflection of cultural anxieties, about death and childbirth, about women whose lives end before they can become mothers. In societies where motherhood is deeply valued, a woman who dies before giving birth becomes a figure of profound sorrow but also fear. Her transformation into a vengeful spirit is perhaps an expression of that grief turned outward. Others see her as a warning, an ancient reminder to men to treat women with respect, lest they face consequences beyond death. Many folktales speak of Pontianak spirits punishing unfaithful lovers, cruel husbands, or men who take advantage of women. In this light, she becomes not just a monster, but an avenger terrifying. yet strangely just. Yet even as she punishes, the Pontianak remains a victim herself. A woman whose life ended in agony, whose death left her restless, unable to move on. And perhaps this is why her legend has lasted so long. It speaks not only of fear, but of injustice. Of stories cut short, of pain that refuses to be buried. In modern times, the Pontianak appears not just in whispered tales, but in popular culture. She has become a staple of Southeast Asian horror films, novels, and television. Audiences watch, terrified yet fascinated, as she glides across screens, hair covering her face, moving in unnatural, jerky motions, her cries sending shivers down spines. Directors use her image to explore themes of trauma, betrayal, and rage, the very emotions that birthed her legend. And yet, away from screens and stories, belief in the Pontianak remains stubbornly real. For those who have lived in villages where strange deaths occurred, or who remember an unexplained knock on the door at midnight, she is no fiction. She is the explanation that makes sense of the senseless, the unseen force that reminds us the world holds more mysteries than we can understand. Elders still speak of the Pontianak with a mixture of fear and respect. Offerings of food and flowers are sometimes left near trees thought to be haunted, in hopes of appeasing her spirit. Religious leaders may be called to cleanse homes, believed to be visited by her presence. And even in bustling cities, stories circulate on social media, phone videos claiming to show a woman in white, voices whispering prayers as the camera shakes, and viewers debating whether it was real or just a trick of the light. It's easy, perhaps, to dismiss these tales as superstition. Yet the Pontianak persist in film, in rumor, in the fearful glance over the shoulder when walking home at night, because deep down, her story touches something universal: the fear of dying before our time, the grief that refuses to fade, and the longing for justice when life feels cruelly unfair. For those who have claimed to encounter her, what remains is not just the memory of what they saw, but the feeling. The oppressive silence before she appears, the sudden drop in temperature, the scent so sweet it feels wrong, and the paralyzing certainty that something beyond understanding is watching. The Pontianak's legend survives precisely because it is more than a ghost story. It is a reflection of life's darkest corners: love lost, pain unspoken, rage denied. It is also a reminder of how folklore travels from mothers to daughters, neighbors to travelers, from the hush of village nights to the bright lights of cinema screens. And each retelling keeps her alive. Even as cities grow and technology advances, some fears remain untouched by time. The Pontianak walks not only through banana groves and abandoned roads, but through the imagination of every listener. Because once you hear her story, it stays with you. The beautiful woman in white, hiding a face twisted by pain, whose sorrow has become an eternal hunt. And so, as night falls and shadows stretch long, the old warnings return. Never wander alone where the trees grow thick, never whistle to the restless wind, and above all, beware the fragrance of frangipani drifting through the darkness, for that sweet scent is no blessing of nature, it is a silent herald of something far older and deadlier than fear itself. If you catch that floral scent under the moon's pale gaze, do not look, do not speak. Instead, close your eyes, steady your breath, and pray with all your heart. For lurking nearby, hidden among the swaying branches and the restless rustle of leaves, the Pontianak may be watching you with eyes that see far beyond the veil of life and death. Some say she is the restless spirit of betrayal and sorrow, her rage sealed into every petal and every whisper of the night breeze. And if she finds you staring back, frozen by dread, no prayer or charm will save you from the chill of her breath or the sharpened claws that follow.